louder. Welcome to Remember the Cant. This is the podcast where we are talking about The Expanse, which previously premiered on Amazon Prime. You might have a little trouble finding it now. But anyway, today we are on season 2, episode 3. I'm Parvati, and with me I have my co hosts Bala and Sumit. Say hello, guys.
Hey,
Hey,
oi.
oi.
Today's episode is called Static. So, Bala, let's start with you. What did you think of it?
I have no clue why it's called static, but I like Bobbie. Bobbie. Yes, she's there. She's back. She's angry. She's punching people's faces, even though she's trying to break off fights. And she's ready for war, but she's sent to farming duty, well, to guard the farmers. That's her duty. I like here she's doing something really noble, but in a really wrong way. And I hated Naomi, and I like
And our accent.
and her
Yes.
accent, and I don't know about the accent, but everything that she did is annoying.
No. Accent is top of the list.
Okay, fine. And my second favorite character, Drummer, is here. Still not introduced as Drummer. Nobody has a clue what she's called unless you have Amazon X-ray, which we don't have right now. And Miller is setting or is planning to wreck a 2 kilometer by half a kilometer ship onto an asteroid. He's planning to do that. So apart from that, all hunky dory.
I think it's called static because of the static that they get from Eros. The
Yeah.
the music, the EDM music that is playing
Yeah.
Okay, that's
on
static.
Diogo's phone, right? That's the
Yeah.
static. And also because the whole episode feels static to me because nothing happened. Nothing
Nothing
happened.
happened.
They just
Nothing happened.
the notes in on fandom, they say Miller and Holden butt heads about what happened on how the raid was
Yeah.
handled. Just that. That's the synopsis of the
Wow, that was
episode.
like 20
And that took what?
nanosecond, 20
5 seconds?
nanoseconds.
Yeah. Just about. Just about. Yeah. What
Uh,
about you, Sumit? What are your thoughts other than it's static?
This episode was all over the place for me, and it jumped so much. There were a lot of
yeah.
scene cuts, very short scenes. We didn't hold on to anything for a
Mm.
long period of time, and it was all over the place for me. The bit I liked especially was when Amos was interrogating the guy. We saw a glimmer of
Yeah.
intelligence from Amos and
For
insight
the
from
first
him.
time ever.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
First
a
time
bit
in.
that I
Second
liked.
only to she was a nice lady. Or she was nice to me.
She was good to me.
She was
She's
good to
good
me.
to you.
Yeah. Other than that, I was okay only with it. That the Martian soldiers bickering was too much for me. I was like, okay, you guys, I get it. He's an Earther.
Mm.
He was bullying him so hard. They do it twice. They
Yeah.
do it in one scene, then they do it in another scene, and there is the retribution or the apology thing that happens
Mm.
in the next. That was the whole Martian arc in this.
She's supposed to have broken his jaw, but he seems fine. Is that Martian
Mm.
technology that in 2 minutes he's fine? Or am I missing
Probably.
something? Or what's
We are
going on?
missing something.
Okay. Well, I thought he was missing something and
Yeah.
took a good jab at him, but
Not
apparently
missing a
not.
jaw. That was a he was probably cold cocked. That was such a strong punch.
Uh, I mean, this is from a woman who has arm wrestled Iron Man and won, clearly
Yeah,
won. So a punch from her is it's going to definitely knock out his jaw.
it's
For me personally, I thought this episode was a bit like a fever dream. It was jumping from one thing to the other constantly, and
yeah.
I can't get Naomi grinning out of my head because that's part of the fever dream. It seems so unrealistic, out of character. And I understand that, like Sumit said, did we actually need two altercations among the Martian Marines? Because that was one too many. One I can understand, but this felt like just filler material. Let's have them bicker over the same thing. Now, if they had something to fight about that was different, fine. Maybe it would have had some variety, but it was a repetition basically. I personally felt that them showing Naomi unwinding was a little too much. It was a little bit boring after a point. Again, showing too much. You don't need that much to show her dancing so much, and all of that was a little too much. Avasarala was really brilliant here. I liked how she was
I
portrayed. I
agree.
liked her interaction with Fred Johnson. It was very, very interesting. And I loved Fred Johnson's expression there because he was seeing a new opportunity that came to him, which wasn't there
Yeah.
before. And Amos, of course, showed a modicum of intelligence. This scientist over there, what was his name? That
Cortazar.
yeah,
Cortazar.
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 Cortazar, yes. He showed flashes of brilliance and also flashes of mental instability, which I think was explained earlier. The brain damage kind of angle, I think they had explained it. But that was pretty eerie because you have him so violently focused on the protomolecule. He's obsessed with the protomolecule. And I think the one thing this episode did thematically that went from start to finish was show obsession. Everybody is obsessed with something or the other. And also the altercation between Holden and Miller, that was too brief. That
Mm.
I don't think the episode can run entirely on that. And you also figure out why Miller did what he did in the previous episode towards the end. I am a bit confused by this. There were some good moments, but overall it was not smooth. The transitions weren't smooth. It wasn't a
Yeah.
very
Felt very choppy. Like
yes,
they were trying to
Mm.
fit too many things,
yeah,
and they could have cut out a lot of things. Like Naomi unwinding, I get why she
yeah,
needs that, but it didn't feel like the actor was relaxed. It
yeah,
felt like she was still very
very
tightly wound,
stressed.
and everything. She feels like a
Yeah,
stress ball to me, and it's very different. Her character is so different in this season. I'm not
yeah.
Mm.
getting her at all.
I also
Going
think,
back to that Martian
yeah,
altercation,
yeah,
it sort of reminded me of how George Takei, the actor who played Sulu in the original series Star Trek, he talked about World War II times. Not him,
mm,
but I think his family
mm,
had gone through horror because when Pearl Harbor attack happened,
Yeah,
the Japanese Americans were sort of taken out of this active society and dealt very differently from the rest of the community.
yeah.
So
Internment
mm,
camps.
post Deimos, such things happening, and that too within the ranks, that was very natural. I like that part. The start was very good, and they already
mm,
had some kind of underlying. I mean, it was already established that this guy is an earther, but he's earned his
yeah.
place here and all that. And this is a good place to bring that up. But like you said, I think they tried to extend it too long. And I mean, if there was something different in the second one, then they should have brought that up. Somehow, one of them breaking ranks and saying, "What am I doing? I shouldn't be doing that. Apologies for this," or something like that, rather than just a bar fight kind of a thing.
I think that was the biggest problem with this episode. The same thing was said twice,
Mm,
multiple times. So
mm, mm,
that is why there was a sense of disconnect with it. It could have easily come to just about half and
mm,
said
Yeah,
everything that it needed to. But instead you have, if you're showing Naomi's unwinding scenes twice or the Martian bickering twice, show some variety, something different,
yeah.
something that you
Instead
can,
of
yeah,
emphasis or escalation, it
mm,
feels repetition. It
mm.
feels
yeah,
Yeah.
that is a
tired.
problem.
Yeah, it doesn't propel the story forward in any which way.
Yeah,
We already know, okay,
Yeah,
she's relaxing. Okay, there's some bad blood in between them. So we
yeah,
get it. Now what, how do you connect to that back to the story? Does that lead them to the Ganymede assignment? That would have been awesome. So because they
yeah.
bickered, they would have been
mm,
frontline, which is what they wanted, but instead they
mm,
were handed Ganymede. Okay, there's your
yes.
punishment. Okay, then we see, okay, the second fight actually led to something.
There were
Yeah,
also
but
these little scenes where, for example, where Diogo was listening to the music. Did it have to be so long? Did we have to actually watch Miller shave for so long? Did we have to?
first time he's cleaned up
Yeah.
since
Yeah,
that I think was that they wanted to focus on that he's
yeah,
over
conscious.
Jolie or because he specifically says that he did not kill because of Jolie. He killed,
Yeah,
and that part also I liked. He killed
Mm.
that guy
Yeah.
uh,
yeah,
Dresden
that was
because he
there.
was making
Making
sense.
sense. Yes.
Making
Yeah.
sense. Yes, yes.
That was powerful.
You
Powerful
know,
stuff.
that scene where he saw Julie in the mirror, that was a nice touch because it
Yeah,
was a very brief appearance of this ghostly figure.
Correct.
And that was nicely done because it could be a couple of things. Because, first of all, the protomolecule, we do have the scientists saying that it doesn't actively kill its victims. So we don't know whether it's playing some sort of mind games or projection, or we don't know, or if it's actually a ghost, or whether Miller is hallucinating. Either way, that was a very interesting touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Another bar scene. We got another bar scene between
Bar
Amos
scene.
and Miller.
Yeah.
And that was funny when he's sipping his whiskey and Amos is just dunking it down all three.
Yeah.
He downed 3 shots. Amos was the MVP of this episode. He had very short scenes but
Absolutely, yes.
impactful.
He was very
Yeah.
impactful scene. Oh, there's something that really bugged me here when Sumit mentioned the whiskey drinking. Did we need to have Fred Johnson and Amos drinking in exactly the same way? It was just, downing the shot and then, why more than once? Once would have done. Again, repetition.
Yeah, yeah.
It just stood out somehow. That was the problem. But yeah,
Right.
Amos came across as he had some character depth here and also some character progression
Hmm.
as
Yeah.
against, some people went backwards, like Naomi, because we didn't see much of her here. But Amos at least had some sort of, and also Alex was going through the simulation again and again, trying to fix something because he lost that one part and he was
Right, we
feeling,
got the
yeah,
motivation why he's doing that. That was
yes,
very nice. That was, of course,
Yeah.
they
yeah,
had to come out and say it. That's when we
yeah,
realized we couldn't realize that on our own. I liked how
We are very dumb, like we need to be
we're so
handheld.
dumb.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was. I mean, I didn't realize why the hell is he obsessed? He was
Okay.
obsessed already because he wanted to get it right. Absolutely right. We
Yeah.
got
yeah,
that. But why is he doing it post the fact? I didn't get it. So I thought maybe he's trying to figure out why did he survive, in spite of
mm,
the fact that all the simulations he was destroyed, and here he comes alive. How did that happen? I thought he was doing fact finding, and then he says, "No, no, I should have saved those 25 people also because of my decision. This happened."
he has survivor's guilt, and they
Yeah,
showed it.
correct, correct, correct.
He just couldn't figure it out. And this was, I think, the one point where we saw him snap at Holden
Yeah.
because he's trying to focus on this thing and get to the bottom of his trauma, and Holden is behind him asking him what he's doing, and he just lost it for that
Mm.
brief scene.
I like what Holden was trying to do with that Cortazar is he had
Yeah.
read the file. So this is exposition, right, of Cortazar's backstory. But still, he was trying to see how to get the truth out of him using methods known to him. But he assumes that he is as empathetic as himself and is trying to do that, saying, okay, you lost your mother. Is that why you want to get back? I can tell you a better way to get back is to help us out with a vaccine. I think that was his line of the whole, I don't know, what do you call it, interrogation. Of course, he got nothing out of him. That's another story. And that's when Amos stepped in.
Yes, yes. Amos knew how to get to that guy's thinking, get through to that guy's thinking, because they seem to have some sort of lineage that is shared. Even if it's not in the same place, they can empathize with each other, which Amos could do because he appears to have had a difficult past.
Yeah.
Holden is like the knight in shining armor, at least according to himself. So he has his way of dealing with things, and he is very, very self-righteous. That sometimes doesn't work. Sometimes you need a thug like Amos.
And using Holden as that, alignment, North Pole star for righteousness. That was also interesting. He put that out saying, hey, if whatever he says, I will just align with him because he is more right than I am usually. So that works for me.
They also show that there's no empathy in the guys who were there with Protogen Nanoinformatics. That's the division.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering if when he was bashing the one guy with a bench at the start, how is that? If I get it, when you don't have empathy, you don't feel bad for some people. How does that equate with a feeling of violence, not having empathy?
I
That was
think
very
it goes
weird.
to primal emotions, right? So, because you are interfering with what I am doing and it threatens my survival.
So mine is on top priority, and that's why. And you came in
Self-preservation is
middle
the
of it.
only priority for them. They don't really think about anybody else living or dying. It's only them. So if they perceive a threat to themselves, they get violent. And they will go to any lengths to preserve themselves. That is the only thing they feel. There's no empathy otherwise.
Hmm. Makes
I think
sense.
it is also pointed out that they're not really bloodthirsty. This is just how they've become. That
Mm.
self, that self of self-preservation has become so strong that they can't go beyond that. And also, what happened to Miller with the Latter-day Saints? That was quite entertaining.
Now,
Yeah, that was an entertaining scene because when I saw it, I thought, is he going down that path and is he going to start, preaching or whatever? But no, he has other plans in mind, quite violent.
Yeah.
but did he go there with that intention, saying, "How am I going to defeat Eros with this thing?" No, I think he's just genuinely trying to, because the way they show up to that point is that he's changed. So he's
Yep.
clean shaven. He's whatever. He's cut his hair so
Rat
that
tail.
it
His-
looks like one of those belters, rat tail.
He has that.
Yeah, he does.
Okay. And so looks like he's reformed in one way and is trying or making amends for whatever he did. And he goes, steps into this place where they said, "Are you lost? You can come and find your way," kind of a place. So to me, they were leading me to saying that this guy is going to become religious. I'm not sure if he went there with the idea that, okay, how do I take down Eros? And this could be a way. I think he was doing this and then it struck him that, no, I don't think I'll go with these phonetics. I'm going to use it for another purpose. Probably that idea came after interacting with them.
Basically, I think he was looking for an unconventional means to find himself. And so he
Ah,
went to the most unlikely place that he could find. And he
right.
went
Yeah.
there and he found the answer there because he stepped out of the box.
Correct.
He took a decision that he wouldn't have normally taken. And then he found some kind of an answer there, which was very
In
unconventional and different.
in a way, that religion worked. He found
Yeah,
his answer there, but
he
it
did.
involves the destruction of their future home.
He found an answer, very violent answer.
Yeah,
It reminds you of that teacher which who hands a barometer to the student, asks them to measure the height of the building using the water pressure difference. But the student says, "I'm going to go up there and drop the barometer down and measure the time it takes, and that way I'll find the." It will of course lead to destruction of the barometer itself.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Oh.
sure the Mormon guy would be so impressed when he hears that he Miller saw the light through the destruction of the Nauvoo.
That guy Diogo was very irritating. So they gave him so much screen time, and they played that horrible music.
Non-stop. That's the other. That's like I said, one scene that they should have cut down to at least half. Did we need to sit through the whole thing?
Him shaving, that girl
Yeah.
listening to music. All to establish the fact that the Eros is not dead and it's giving off some kind of, I don't know, some kind of speech or something like that. Which we are going to find out anyway with Cortázar, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
but Miller's arc during this episode, if you go back
Mm.
and watch it, will it still make sense? Because he is at the start he looks listless and confused as to what his place is. Then the young guys come up and say, "You are our hero,"
Mm,
and everything. They gave him, and even when he was stumbling outside the bar, he did not look in one piece
no.
until Diogo put him up.
Mm.
Then after that, after he heard the music, I think then he made that resolve, or was determined to find the answer somehow, or after seeing Julie.
After seeing Julie,
After
probably in the
seeing
mirror.
Julie,
I think so.
In
I
the
think that
mirror.
was the turning point for him.
yeah,
Yeah.
With Diogo, I think something that really irritated me about him is she's such a caricature of a young, vibrant, boisterous man.
yeah,
And it's just, they took it too far. Tone it down a little.
Well, he's also stand-in, comic element, that lighter sort of
They're
thing,
not
I think.
laughing.
Yeah. That's why
laughing
I
at
said
him,
stand in. Yeah.
not with him, whatever
Yeah,
he's doing.
yeah, maybe at him, you never know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It is a
I still don't know how he survived being spaced by his uncle. How who picked him up? Why
Yeah.
did they pick him up?
Yeah. In the middle of
How is
nowhere.
he going to irritate us?
Just to irritate us.
Yeah.
Uh,
He survived.
Yes.
He was like that spy guy, the guy who's got absorbed into Eros.
Oh, yeah.
Kelvin Kevlar? No, I don't know. I don't remember his name.
Kevin or
So,
something.
Kevin
so anything,
Kento.
something with a K, or we can go
Kento.
through all the
Kenzo. Yes,
Kenzo,
Kenzo.
yeah.
We
Kenzo.
finally
Yes.
reached there. Sorry.
Yes. I was going to say Kevin Ters, but I said no. That's he's not a frozen. He's not a frozen bottle. No. No, have to go back to this torpedo scene at the start. So
Yeah.
those keep stuttering. They don't seem to be doing. I think that's also part of this episode, static. So I don't know if you noticed that the torpedoes are stuttering. If you're given any torpedo is given a target, they go straight for it. Full burn, they go straight for it. But these weren't. There were lots of stutters. I saw that, and of course, then it resulted in the destruction of Deimos.
Yeah. That scene where they said Deimos destroyed, that was pretty stark because it's after all it's a moon of Mars and then
Mm,
you blow it up. So that scene, however brief it was, it showed how far technology has gone that it can actually blow up a moon.
mm,
And it also makes you wonder what kind of repercussions that would have because it is obviously a cultural and emotional symbol for the Martians. And to
mm.
blow that up is it was slightly painful to watch that.
Yeah.
Real.
As we find later, Deimos is also part of the Martian flag.
Yes.
It comes much later.
Oh,
It is part of their
But
flag.
then nobody on the Martian side mentioned that it was because they blew up Phoebe. Like
yeah.
it is clear retribution, and they think of it as act of war.
First strike, yes. They think of
Yeah,
it
they
as
think of it as
first
first
strike.
strike. Yeah,
First strike. Everybody talks about that.
Yeah.
Even,
If they
even
spent some of the repetition putting in dialogue that actually made sense,
mm,
they would have, instead of repeating the same things, for example, if somebody on the Martian sides, like you said, had just connected the dots and, instead of jumping to conclusions and connected Phoebe to this, we would have had some more story to go on. Instead,
yeah.
it's just repetition.
mm.
Even when the Martian bickering, I wrote in my
Yeah.
notes. I get it, guys. You guys don't like each other. Stop hammering on the same point over and over again.
Mm,
Unfortunately, that bickering was also very juvenile. Something
mm,
like you see in a school ground. You're not from here, I will punch you, I will break your nose, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
mm.
in a way, these are kids only, but still,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was too much.
A
Then
little
we get a
too much.
montage with the EDM music playing
Oh
of
yeah,
Alex
Yeah.
on simulation, Naomi dancing,
correct.
and
I
Yeah.
tried
Cortazar
to
blabbling.
list out what all is going on. I lost it. I mean, like there's so many things happening. Cortazar was also doing something. They were
Mm.
dancing. There's
Yes.
Eros music at the backdrop. Diogo is dancing. Whatever. So it was all a mess. And the Martians training, huh? That was also going on in that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, that was also going on.
That's why it was, like we said before, it's very choppy. It doesn't go together. Idiom montage is an example of that. Just goes from one thing to the other. Nothing
yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
not
Nothing is connected.
accomplishes nothing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe that's also static. That's also what you wanted to. They wanted
Yeah.
to show.
There's several layers of
If you
static. Mhm.
take
Several layers
the
of
episode, take the story forward, this did almost nothing
almost
except
nothing. Yeah.
for Miller's plan to blow up Eros.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the
There,
last one, correct.
I think basically just about three things happened. One is Avasarala contacting Fred Johnson. That could
Yep.
be seen as a plot point. And
Yeah,
then you have Miller deciding to use the now to destroy Euro Station. So that is something else. And I guess the third thing is we just have that interaction with the scientist where we discover that the protomolecule is building something possibly, but that's
Right.
about it.
Yeah. And that it
That's
needs to be destroyed. So that is the
yes.
urgency to destroy Eros, in spite of the fact that there may be 100,000 people still living and breathing, becomes an urgency because of that fact that they find it out. And so hence it makes sense for Amos to figure this out. So all that makes sense.
Whatever Cortazar said
Hmm.
Yes.
was not a revelation to us. We already knew
True.
it.
We knew
Yeah.
a lot of that from the previous episode because
Yeah,
a lot of
we
it was said there also.
like if you're building suspense to such a degree to interrogate a character who's presumably mad
Mm,
and then reveal some things that the audience
yeah.
already knows. It was like, why
It
did I
didn't
watch the
have,
whole thing?
yeah. If he had said, okay, that the protomolecule is able to do something like something that we didn't know about, of course, it would make
Yeah, we've seen the
sense.
protomolecule capture
Yeah.
Kenzo
Huh.
in a way.
Yeah, yeah,
We've
yeah. We've
seen
seen
it
That's the
that.
do
thing.
things that these guys have no idea about.
Correct.
And
Even
it
if it's a
was,
revelation to these guys, we still would have liked something more about
Hmm.
yeah.
what he was doing.
And the funny thing is, these guys would have already known a lot of what he's saying from the previous episode because all
Yeah,
of that was told to them. And they have also seen certain things like the protomolecule attaching itself to a reactor, getting
power
illuminated.
source. Yeah,
Yes, power source. So they know all of that. And then they're still acting surprised here when he tells
yeah.
them the exact same thing. The exact same thing. So I guess that's a very weak plot point, but we could have finished this episode actually in 15 minutes because that's all the material we got.
What
Yeah.
does Fred Johnson give back to Christian? There's some stealth ship location, is it? Because we see some coordinates and we see a stealth ship. So there's one more
Is that
stealth ship's
is that
location.
so? He Fred Johnson sent it to her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Okay,
she says, you have any card, this is the time to play it. And
Mm.
she gets a message and it's a stealth ship with some coordinates. So I'm assuming it's Fred who sent it.
maybe that's the one that destroyed Canterbury and Donegal. But we already saw it destroyed, that stealth ship.
It's crippled, it's not destroyed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, on
I
okay.
because we didn't see it blow up.
No, we
That's my,
didn't.
yeah, we saw it get crippled near that the spin station. And
Was it made clear what exactly Fred Johnson did? Because I didn't get that impression. I thought he is going to help her and he thinks that she is coming from a place that he can trust. But I don't think it was revealed what exactly he did for her to give her that upper hand. Was it? Or did I miss it in the static?
Yeah, Johnson sends Avisarala the location of a stealth ship.
Yeah,
It
okay.
the
doesn't say
Bala's
I
which
Rex.
got it.
stealth
Yeah,
ship.
Okay. Okay.
so that is correct. I missed that completely in the static.
Okay. Sarcasm begins. Ball on the wall, I thought was an amazing thing, and it turned out to be a real ball on the wall. Sarcasm ends.
What's the ball on the wall?
Oh, yeah. So, drummer says, let's do some ball on the wall. To Naomi, she says, we want to loosen up and stuff. So, they actually play ball on the wall, that
Oh, yeah.
game. It's called
Pashang.
that, Pashang over. Oh,
Yes.
it's called Pashang, is it? I thought, I wrote Pashang as maybe it's of course. No,
No,
that's
no.
the name of the game. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
guess. What a stupid game to play. You use your hands as bats.
Yeah,
You're just playing squash with your hands. It's so
man.
stupid. You're just
It's so
hurting
stupid.
yourself.
And again, that took way too long.
Yeah, you're using
And
you're
so,
playing a
and
game that
drummer is
requires
guarding
gravity
the whole
in
thing like
Yeah.
space.
this.
I mean, okay, let's find some positive. I think this episode gave us tutorials on how to shave, how to play the ball game,
How to dance to
how to
bad
dance.
EDM. Yeah,
Yeah.
how to single out a person who is not from Earth
Yes.
and
And how
have
to
multiple
punch your
fights with him.
kids.
How to use rice to draw complex organic
Yeah,
molecules on a glass
Yeah.
wall.
how to act like the Cortazar was acting his
Yeah.
skin. Like, what did it say? He struck himself to the
What did
glass.
it say? He's like a Shakespearean actor. He
I
just
wrote
internalized it.
in my notes. I wrote acting with an exclamation mark, like
Yes,
acting. So acting.
he fits the role of this thespian, He will act it out. He will show it like a
Yeah, show
dramatist.
it.
He will show it. He will show it.
Thespian, yeah.
Can we can we apply for our PhD now? We got very educated on so many things.
He was named after. Was he named after Cortázar, the author? Latin American, South American.
No,
Could be just random
yeah,
assignation.
But these guys are
he
very
doesn't
careful
look
with
like
their
he's from that
names.
part. He doesn't look like he's
Mm.
from that part of the world. He looks like he's more Middle East guy kind of guy.
No, it can be Iberian also. That
Okay.
like Portuguese, Spanish. It's
Or North
mostly Spanish
African.
Could
surname.
be.
But
And after
No,
Rocinante,
doesn't
you
spell
never
it.
know what goes where.
if there's a guy, if there's a pale white guy named Kothari,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
Why can't you have a Middle Eastern guy
Well,
called Cortázar?
yes.
Yeah.
that's
And
much more
isn't
plausible.
Avasarala's, I think,
No,
is
Kotyar.
that's his first name. His second name
Oh,
is
okay. I have
I
no
think his
idea.
second name is Ghazi.
Ghazi.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Kotyar Ghazi. Okay.
And please tell me why she had a shawl over her head for no
Oh
reason.
my God, that her I've written what on earth is she wearing? That's
I actually thought that was some stick-on dress. You have sometimes when
and
you
she's
go to
walking
the
like this,
yeah,
like oh guys, it's
yeah,
dropping. Somebody hold it.
it's gonna fall off.
You're gonna fall off, guys. You forgot the three pins that hold it back there.
It's back there.
And it felt like it was so stiff she couldn't really move. It was like a mannequin that pasted on her.
So I did this totally useless, fruitless activity of there's a reference of Karaji's feed, and I clicked on that, and somehow it landed with what's her name, Avasarala's actor Shore, Shore, her Twitter handle, and there's a entire video on how she's dressing up for Wheel of Time, and she's apparently in that she's a important character in that Wheel of Time. So I saw that and like, oh my God, this is even more atrocious than this the stick-on peel-off dress that she has here.
She has to have like a 2 to 3 hours of costume work done on her.
At least I'm guessing about 5 hours.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Hmm.
I was actually wondering what that Mormon would think when he finds out that this is what Miller is planning and this is how he saw the light. He saw the light, but
Oh
not
yeah,
yeah.
the next episode I think is about that, if I remember right, about the Mormons getting the shock of their life. Why are you outside the ship? Oh my God, why? What's happening to a 100-year-old ship? Oh. So this Diogo versus Miller. I'm sorry, guys. Painful scene, but I'm bringing that up again. I think what they were going for. I think what they were going for was young versus old, system versus choice, positivity versus pessimism, kind of a juxtaposition. I think that's what I wrote down. Because they were going
I'm glad you're so
back, forth.
positive, Bala. All I got from that scene was I need to toss one of these two overboard. That's it.
Space them both.
Yeah.
Face him again, Diogo.
Yes, please.
Diego, this time for real. Nobody pick him
And can
up,
you please
please.
stop dancing?
And did we have to relive the whole Julie Mao description? That's another thing I wrote down. We've already lived through it twice at least. We've seen that. And again, the detailed description Amos gives and everything, right? So, I don't know if we really had to go through that.
The problem with the
Yeah.
the writing is the characters are oblivious to what is happening, but we know. So they are just giving exposition to each other, and we are like, "Arey, we know already all of this. Why are you telling me?
And
At
some of
least
them
give some
technically they
extra
should
information." with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And no, and some of it technically they should know from what they've experienced in the previous episode. But when it came to this episode, everybody has amnesia and they need to read from the teleprompter.
Uh,
Yeah, actually, there's a YouTube channel called Lessons from the Screenplay. It's an amazing channel. In that, he refers to the scene from Independence Day, the first
Mm.
one, the Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith one. So in that, there is a scene where you can see Jeff Goldblum playing chess with his father. Okay, so the audience doesn't know who these two people are, but they have to tell some backstory via this game of chess. And it's exposition after exposition. Jeff Goldblum says something,
which movie?
the Independence Day, Jeff Goldblum, Will Smith, the first one. So exposition after exposition, he talks about the ring and how about how he's still married and about why he's playing chess here. And it goes on and on. And this guy says, classic example of bad writing. Because the characters know this already. We don't know.
Yeah.
Here's the opposite case, right? So we know this already. The characters don't know. They want to expose it to each other.
Yeah.
Then
In
that is
improv,
Yeah, go ahead.
in improv, they say it's bad improv is when the characters have to spell out what. Look, you are my brother, or something. They say, we are here in the supermarket. That you shouldn't have to spell it out. Nobody talks like that in real life.
that was the exact problem. It felt like people just wrote it down in words and didn't take the trouble to read it out. So it
Yeah.
reads like a book prose, like a narrative prose. Nobody's taken the trouble to read it out. If they had just read it out loud, you would know that people don't talk like that.
I'm going through the trivia section here.
There was one. I didn't see
Yeah,
it. Oh.
you should hear the trivia in this. The one trivia is that Deimos is the smallest, one of the smaller moons, 8 miles long. It's just 8 miles
Oh.
long. So why
Okay.
are they that upset that it was destroyed? Okay.
It was
The
easier to
drawing that
destroy.
Cortázar makes on the window is an RNA strand,
Oh,
resembles an RNA strand.
okay.
One is that Eros is that Cortázar's pedophilia, and Eros is the god of love. Philia
Okay.
is
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
And the last trivia in this, guys, you can't even guess what it is.
I give up.
The last trivia is Miller uses a straight-edged razor to shave his face, but he uses his hair with an automatic shaver. That's
Oh
a
yeah,
trivia. That's a
I guess
trivia.
somebody's bored.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, even today, nobody uses that thing that he uses. Wait.
You're
That,
back.
that
You're back.
yeah. You're back. The kind of razor that he uses, I've seen it somewhere. Probably in a barber shop or something like that. The hairdresser shop. I've seen it, but nobody uses that. Oh wait, this is in our biology dissection kit. I don't know why it was there, but it was there.
The Ustra. It comes.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Why would you need that in a anyway, that's another story. Okay.
In IMDb, you can rate a trivia helpful and unhelpful. The last
Okay.
one has 0 helpful. It has 4 unhelpful. Why is this? Why is this needed?
Okay. I found out how big is Eros. It's 16 kilometers diameter. Can a 2 kilometer long and half a kilometer wide ship be used to destroy or at least cause enough damage to? I know they say destroy Eros. They are going to plan. They
Yes.
plan to do that. Would it be feasible? Because the moment I think Miller mentions it, Fred is like, yeah, let's go ram it. I mean, I don't think he's even thinking about whether it's possible or not. Is it? I don't know if he's questioning that.
Maybe the force of the impact and possibly some kind of atomic detonation will help destroy the.
Possibly.
This Fred Johnson is going along with everyone's ideas.
Yeah.
These
Anytime
guys,
anybody says anything,
yeah.
yes, I'll do it.
Last episode, last to last episode, the Rocinante guys, last episode, Rocinante guys come and give him that whole exposition that we already knew. And he said, yes, let's go destroy
I'm convinced.
that
Let's
satellite. I'm
let's nuke
convinced.
something. Let's nuke
Now
something.
Avisarala says something, he's immediately convinced.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
immediately convinced. And now this guy Miller comes with this outrageous plan. He said, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's
He's
do it.
such an agreeable guy.
Doesn't
Just
matter
had
that I
this.
spent the last 20 years building that damn ship, but I will break it in no problem. No
Let's
problem
Yeah,
at all.
smash
Yeah.
it, man. No need to keep it. He's too agreeable. Actually, like,
It's the pain of seeing 100,000 belters die, the guilt. That's
oh
what
yeah,
is carrying him on. That's why
we are
he's
so
like that.
unfeeling. We are very unfeeling. We don't
Seriously.
get it.
Maybe we got a magnet swiped across our head like that.
the butcher of Anderson Station.
No, I am telling you, if we had magnets across our brains, we would be spacing all of these guys one after the other.
That's all it takes, magnets.
Yeah,
So,
that's all it takes, magnets.
And that lady is like, yeah, it's irreversible. Yeah, I know it all. I've seen it all. The first time she comes across this and say, yeah, of course it's irreversible. She doesn't even have a single doubt in her mind. Like, let me do my research. Let's see. Let me go Google and find out. No. Yeah, it
no,
can be done. It's irreversible.
everyone comes across in this episode as pretty stupid, except for Amos and Christian.
Except for Amos, yeah. Christian, okay, she came across as a very canny politician, very intelligent, and she's got a lot of plans. But then, for once, her screen time was too short.
Yeah, that's why if it had lingered on her for a long
Yeah.
time, she also would have come across as stupid.
Uh,
Last season during the recording, I mentioned that Naomi is the smart, capable one, and it's a science fiction and fantasy
you're not
trope
allowed to
of
retract any of that. No way. If you're planning to do that, don't.
just so dumb. Well, nothing that she overtly does is dumb. I don't like this sudden change in a character.
Hmm.
It makes no sense. That's the problem. She
Yeah.
suddenly lost all her mental balance and she's become somebody else entirely. Her accent has also changed.
Yeah,
I don't
that
even
See,
is
it was the
recognize it.
influence of the
Yeah.
Canterbury. As long as she was in Canterbury, it was that influence that kept her going back, kept her smart. The moment she was removed, there was some time when she got back to her prior self. Now she is her prior self. How's that for an explanation?
Oh dear.
her prior self is in London with a Cockney accent.
Yeah. So apparently, so today I learned that being on a spaceship gives you an accent. The minute you're out of the spaceship, you get a new accent.
Yeah.
Depends on what spaceship you're on.
Yeah.
I found it funny that on the screen it shows stealth ship location found. I'm like, you failed at
Yeah.
being a stealth ship if your location can be found.
So almost like they're assuming that the viewer's IQ is about 3. So they want to
Yeah.
write it down.
What is she giving in exchange?
I assume that her next step would be to expose those people in the government. Or did he just agree to something without getting anything in return? What she seems like.
As we know, he's very agreeable.
Yes.
You ask anything of him, he will do it. He's the most kind middle manager boss you had.
Please destroy a station with civilians in them, although they're planning to surrender. No
No,
problem. I'll do
somebody
it.
should tell him. Somebody should tell him I want the protomolecule as a pet. He'll go, yeah, of course, why
Yeah,
not?
of course.
Of course.
Don't say no. Papa.
This time the music was, I had earphones on, I didn't find them spectacular. It was the same rubbish that was there. And
The same piece was playing everywhere.
Okay. It was like
They
that.
wanted to emphasize that.
It was supposed to be like that. The static, of course.
The static, yeah.
Yeah.
But
This is all over the place.
yeah,
Too many
showing it
things.
so choppy and the
Yeah.
editing
Yeah.
was very weird to me.
Yeah, there are like 20 scenes that they moved. I'm just
Yeah.
counting them. 2, 6, 8, 10. Wow, it's 22 or something.
It's too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
It's
They
too much.
usually
That's why-
have these 3. That was
Three,
starting
yeah.
to be a template.
Yeah.
So 3 things they keep moving. And then we see arcs. Somewhere they intersect. Somewhere there's a time lag, but still they try to make it intersect and make sense of it. This wasn't
Yeah.
like that. I think
So
from
the
last
5 characters on
Yeah.
the Rossi characters, all of them were separated. All of them had their own
Yeah.
thing
Correct.
going on.
Yeah. I think season 2 onwards, they've been doing this thing.
Uh, no, that's why this felt like a fever dream because in sometimes, it felt like you don't know where you're going. Each second, something else would happen. And
Yeah.
it may or may not be connected to what came before. It was very disjointed, quite disturbing, and very hard to focus because you just want something to make logical sense. But by then, you've gone on to some other scene.
Yeah, if you could have done a cool down episode with not progressing the plot, because this didn't progress the plot. And
Mm.
in lieu of progressing the plot, you showed that interrogation with Cortazar. Could have just
Yeah.
had them just chill out. And
They've done something like that instead of. I don't think even they know what they're doing.
or you could have ramped it up even further and not given the break, because you had the person from that spin station here. You had all these people from there. You want you probably want to focus all your resources on getting the information out
Yeah.
and planning your next steps. Not this half and half thing, whatever they did in this episode.
No, they could have let Cortazar escape and then go into Diego's room and is listening to that music,
Listening to that
dancing to
music.
that.
Cortazar and Diego scene, that's what this episode needed.
That's what it needed.
Them
That would have
interacting.
spiced up things.
Diogo would have died within 5 seconds.
Yeah. This is one episode where it makes it feel like you want to space yourself.
We should conclude this by saying forget the Cant.
Tempting.
We've forgotten the
Honestly,
Cant.
I've forgotten the Cant. Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, you can also watch the episode and drone about it to us.
Yeah. Or watch this. Or we should have recorded whatever we said before we started recording. That was much more interesting than the episode.
Let's hope the next episode is better than this.
What's it called?
I don't know. Dynamic?
It
better be that.
yeah, hopefully.
hopefully.
Okay, guys, don't forget to remember the Cant.
Or else.